right, so I haven't done a video in a while. Been kind of on a hiatus between work being exceptionally busy. I run a woodworking company and we get exceptionally busy in November and December. And the fact that with winter around, it's harder to train. And frankly, I just haven't been training consistently, haven't been making videos. So I'm trying to get back at it. I'm back in the gym working now. And I'm back to training and preparing for whenever this COVID thing ends and we can go back to fighting and seeing all our friends and things like that. So I want to do a video today on something that's been kind of churning around in my mind a little bit, and it's about what I'm just calling weapon manipulation, right? And I'm stealing this term more from the shooting sports than the armored combat sports, but it was a realization that when I came into the sport, I came in with a leg up on some people, having a better feeling for the weapons immediately, right? Like I'd watch guys fight their first fights and they wouldn't be comfortable swinging, they'd resort to punching, maybe more grappling, and I was pretty confident with my swinging early. Now I had a lot of technique to learn, a lot of things to get better at, but as far as just general comfort level, I came to this with something that a lot of people don't have. And I've been thinking about that a lot. And I'm kind of tying it into another hobby I have, which is shooting sports, right? I like to go shooting. I have a range, and I like to do target practice and shooting on the move and things like that, more just for fun. And I brought a lot of people over the years who shot with me, friends. And it's something I've noticed out of people who are newer to it, is just, even if they know how the mechanics of their gun works, they have a hard time doing it in the moment, right? They'll leave, they'll forget like how to change a magazine, or they'll forget like if their safety's on when they pull up to shoot, or things like that, right? And I was thinking about like, why didn't I struggle with that as much as other people? And the same with armored combat. And I think it's just a comfort level with the tools. So what do I mean by that? I mean that coming into armored combat, right? So here's my arming sword, right? So I had to learn to swing an arming sword, how to use my hip rotation, all that stuff. But in general, I felt pretty good holding a sword, right? I felt pretty good moving a sword. Why? I grew up playing with fake swords, right? It's just something we did. So, here's one of my kids' boffers, right? A little boffer we made at a convention out of like foam. It's a foam one, right? But I've had these around my whole life. If anyone who's done any kind of LARPing, any kind of reenactment, maybe coming in with that skill and they're more comfortable with it. So this felt very normal to move on to a sword, right? Brought up another toy, lightsaber, right? It turns on here somehow. Yeah, a little blue lightsaber. But again, things I already was kind of using, and I could take that ability and move it into armored combat and learn the actual techniques for armored combat and really what you needed. So a lot of people seem okay with swords when they kind of get it. I think most of us played with sticks as kids and things like that. Axes, right? So axes were where I saw the biggest difference. People would come in, they get their axe, right? And they tend to swing like this, or they get bound up, or they're uncomfortable. And I realized that like I was pretty comfortable with getting a good swing and rotation and all that stuff too, because I grew up swinging axes, right? This is my wood chopping axe. What is this? This is a Norwind, a 1950s Norwind, a really nice axe back when you could get American-made tools that were very quality, right? I got this at a yard sale a while back, super steel. But this is the axe I use when I have to chop down things, right? So I've been swinging axes my whole life. So again, I had to learn the techniques for fighting versus chopping down a tree, right? Different angles, in motion, on the run. But I came with a natural comfort level with my tool, right? So I think that coming in with that skill set, great, I had it. So what does it do for you? How does it improve you? Spend time with your tools, right? Play around with your axes. Use your practice swords or your practice awl handle, your axe handle, and obviously sit there and do the right drills, get the rotations, but also practice, move in weird ways, feel how it feels, get comfortable with it, use it all the time. Weapon manipulation needs to be ingrained. You have to be comfortable. So a lot of people will be, I'm a lefty, right? So a lot of people are really good at swinging on their strong side and struggle with their weak side. I was better with it because I was literally cutting down trees. I was going back and forth a lot of times as I was coming in or chopping up wood for firewood, things like that. So get comfortable with your weapons. And again, I'm tying this directly into shooting sports because there's a lot more fine manipulation, and this kind of brought me into that. So this here is an airsoft gun. It's not real. It looks real. I played airsoft for a very long time. So again, I grew up shooting a little bit, but I played airsoft for a very long time. And an airsoft gun functions in many ways the same as a real firearm for the basic manipulations, right? So I have, I can rack the slide where I can adjust my hop up, but you can do that, but your safety is the same, right? So as I go in, I'm putting that safety off. Magazine comes on and off exactly the same as the real thing, right? Oh, there you go. Sight picture, exactly the same, right? Finger control there, if I want to put the finger on to pull the trigger or not. Again, this here, while not obviously real, doesn't simulate recoil or actual shooting and things like that, I had a basic feeling and comfort with it, how to put it on my shoulder, how to hold it, how to set sight alignment, how to manipulate it, transition between targets. All of that was something I was relatively comfortable with because I've been doing it in a similar sport to actual shooting, right? So at Airsoft, you're doing it under stress, under unique situations, different angles, weird positions, kneeling, laying down, hiding under things, right? So you're having to use this and make it second nature, right? So again, do I recommend that everyone goes out and starts playing Airsoft if they want to start shooting? No, but it helped. I came with that skill set, and because I was so comfortable with these, it felt very natural for me. So again, toy, I painted the orange black here, which is legal in my state. I know some states have different rules on it because I don't like having a big orange tip when I run into the woods and people can see me. And again, I keep these around. I want to go back and play occasionally. But again, this is not a real thing. It doesn't feel totally real. The weight's not the same. It's wobbly and things, but it helps me be better with the real tool because this simulates it and I can use it in different combat situations that I obviously couldn't use a real gun in, right? I couldn't get a real firefight. That'd be a bad idea, not much fun. So same thing here, right? So yeah, I've got my steel sword for training and for fighting. I've got all that. That's great. But I also spend a lot of time playing with this. A lot of time, right? Whacking my kids around. We sword fight in the house, move around, play games, have fun with it. The Knights Hall does battle days in the summer and spring and things, which is basically foam fighting, right? And it's one hit, right? You get to fight in conditions you never would in armored combat. You get more comfortable being in stressful situations, using your tools and having to use them at weird situations and angles, which will help translate into a better comfort level when you get into actual armored fighting, when you're actually in the list fighting someone one-on-one or fighting in a melee or whatever it may be. Final thing I want to say about that, and the very important piece is, this doesn't replace technique. Weapon manipulation, comfort with it, knowing how to use it, practicing swinging on different things will help you feel comfortable as an extension of your body. It will not replace swinging incorrectly, right? If I stand here and do this all day, it doesn't matter how often I do this. That's not good sword technique, right? It's just my arm. It's no body usage. I'm not getting any kind of rotation into it. I'm getting no power. Like, it's not going to fix that. But having time with it in my hand, just playing around with it, getting comfortable with it, moving into different stances. So I'm doing very little of it right now because it's very snowy and icy out here, right? I'm slipping around. But that's going to help you become better and more competent and more comfortable with your weapons. In the end, you want to get to the point that you're not thinking, right? And you'll see it if you watch melees, you watch newer fighters, and I've done it, so I'm not like, I'm definitely guilty of this myself. But you'll watch them come up with their axe, right? You watch them come with their axe, and they'll come up to a target, and they'll come up, and it'll be, so I'll be a righty for now. So I'll come up, and the shot's on the left side. And they'll come up, and they'll stop, and they'll look, and they'll sit, and they'll move their hand over, and they'll turn, and then they'll swing. And maybe it's a bad swing, they do this swing, right? So that there is not being comfortable with your weapon. Having to stop and think about the motion versus running up and seeing that it's going to be a left side shot, switch your left hand, coming in, rotate, boom. Making sure you're comfortable with it is definitely a skill set that takes hours and hours and hours of practice. So I strongly encourage you, play with your stuff. If you got weapons, swing them with your targets, swing with your pels, do your hard pel work, but also just mess around. So you don't just swing at a weird angle, right? Mostly, like I said, and I think every instructor out there I know will advocate for this, use your wooden practice swords for this, your practice axe, your all handle, things that don't have weight so you don't end up torquing something, but you can get more and more comfortable and then practice the little things. Like I'm going to do a drill later where I'm literally just going to work on transitioning my hand and my gauntlets, right? So I'm going from my checking stance to my swinging, checking, swinging, checking, swinging, and just doing that literally 100 times each hand. I want to get to the point that I can do this without having to think about needing to change stuff, right? So here in my stance, and go over. That's all I got for now. Just a little video of something I've been thinking about, trying to tie in experiences in other activities and sports into armored combat and how they can translate and what you can take away from it. If you have any questions, feel free to like, subscribe, leave a comment, send me a message, whatever you want. Again, my name is Chuck Goodwin, and I fight with the Executioners and the Nightmares here out of the Knights Hall in New Hampshire. And I'm glad to help anyone get started or answer any questions that I can.